Why is spiritual practice so hard? Well, there's a very short answer to this why spiritual practice is hard. It's because you have a mind and because you live in the world, and the world is what it is, and all of that. And related to that, your mind is what your mind is, with all of the swirl of your own thoughts and your own connection to what's going on in the world. But there are maps. There are maps that we can use to understand where we are in the space of our own spiritual practice. If we try to sit down and pray or meditate, there are maps that we can at least know where we are and at least be okay about where we are when we're finding it hard to do spiritual practice. And I think one of the most interesting maps is provided in the Hebrew Bible in the story of Elijah. The prophet Elijah was a prophet who had been challenging the king and the queen, and he was in a bad way, and they were trying to kill him. And he ran away, and he ran to the mountains, and he ran to a cave in the mountains, hiding out. And he's stressed. He's not in a good space. He's not in a good place. Um, but then he has this spiritual experience, we're told in this story. And in this spiritual experience, what we're told is that there is a great wind, a big blowing wind that knocks things over, that knocks even rocks over. It's so strong. But then it says God was not in the wind. And then an earthquake, the earth shook. But then it says God was not in the earthquake. And then a fire. And it says God was not in the fire. And then it said there was sheer silence, sheer stillness, sometimes translated as a still, small voice of calm. And this is the divine encounter. Now, here's a symbol system, and it's a good kind of pointer to the fact that we shouldn't take this literally, that here's a set of symbols. Here's some elements, the ancient elements. I don't know why water isn't there, but air is there, earth is there, and fire is there. And that makes sense if you try to think what literally it means. There was a fire. Like, what does that actually look like? It's quite difficult to imagine. There was a fire. Well, what, like, where? What was on fire? It just says there was fire. So that means it doesn't really make sense. You take it literally, but you understand here is a symbol system: air, earth, fire, silence. So, what are these symbols? They are a map to what can happen in spiritual practice. First, air. Air is associated, wind here is associated with mental processes, with the thinking mind, rationality. And so when we enter into a practice of prayer, what happens first is that our mind is full of all our thoughts. We are thinking, 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 and we're in this space of thinking, which relate to everything going on in our lives, and just the fact the mind just wanders. It just wanders. It wanders about, and it is okay to be in that space if you're trying to be still. The mind wanders. That happens to everyone. Don't be put off and think everyone else is not doing this. Everyone else's mind is wandering as well. The mind wanders, and we can just get into our own worries, into our own head, if we're sort of being still and not filling our minds with the distractions of a phone and television and everything. After the air, earth. So after the mental processes, earth, our own bodies. So the way to get to a deeper level of prayer from the level of mental, busy our own thoughts into the earth level of prayer is to concentrate on the body, to move prayer out of the mind and into the body. And we can do this through breathing, through concentrating just on the breath. As it goes in and out of your body, to concentrate on the feelings, the feel of the air, the coolness or the hotness on your skin, on your face, the feeling of the seat, your chair you're sitting on, into that space of mindfulness. This moves prayer from mental stuff to body stuff, to move into the prayer of the body, the prayer of earth. We get to that level of prayer. And after earth, fire. This is the fire of love, the warmth that we can feel when we can, in the stillness, feel this impression of divine love, feel this sense that we are loved. John Wesley said, "My heart was strangely warmed." It's that feeling of your heart being warmed. You can have this apprehension of being loved, this sense of being loved. And, we can do that we can get to that space. It's not always possible to jump between these levels, but there are ways in which we can be invited to do so. We can sort of not just concentrate on the breath, but have an awareness of the breath as a gift, to imagine ourselves as being lovingly fed each breath, to imagine ourselves as fetuses in the womb of God, in which the actually oxygen is being provided by this loving body which entirely surrounds us. Like the earth is God's body, and we are within it, being fed this oxygen, being fed this air, being loved. And so we can be in this space of resting in the love of God. But the story even says God is not there, or God is not fully there, because even beyond that, into a deeper level of prayer than that, there is the silence. There is the thing that there are no words for. We get to a point where even the words of being loved do not seem adequate for the apprehension of that prayerful experience. And God is not in the wind, and God is not in the earth, and God is not in the fire, but also God is in the air, and God is in the earth, and God is in the fire. Each of these levels, wherever we are, God is there, but there is also always an invitation to not dwell in that space and to go deeper. So even if we sit down and our minds are just sit down for 20 minutes of silence and the mind is just chattering, that's okay. You just know that's where you are. That's where you are. That is still prayer. You're still doing it. If you're turning up and doing it faithfully, you're still doing it. But sometimes you're in the space of wind. And then sometimes you can be in the body and be in the space of earth. Sometimes in the space of fire, of feeling just resting in that beautiful experience of love. And sometimes, though very rarely, being even in that space of total wordlessness, darkness, no thingness, where there's no language to speak of it. And it's okay wherever we are. This is just a map and there's an invitation to keep going in the map, but it's also okay to know this is where I am. And in a 20 minutes of prayer or an hour of prayer, I may jump between these levels multiple times. And in a lifetime, we may jump between these levels. This helps us to know where we are, to see this map. But also what just matters is faithfulness, is just turning up. You do your practice, you do your 20 minutes a day of practice. You do your thing. And wherever you are, it is okay. But there is an invitation, always an invitation. We don't have to answer every time. We can't answer every time. There is an invitation to enter into the wind, to enter into the earth, to enter into the fire, and to enter into the silence.